Hello and welcome to the Cryptonaut Podcast. I'm Mark Storrs, and with me is
Chris Carnosali
and
Rob Morphy.
Thank you for checking out this week's episode. Top of the show, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, leave a rating, leave a review, and we will read your review on the show.
Every time.
Excellent.
There you have it.
Excellent.
Also, too, be sure to check us out on social media. We're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit us up there. Send us your questions, comments, or suggestions. Or if you just want to talk monsters, get a hold of us. We're always available to talk. And this week, we got something a little special here.
It's a really weird encounter.
I love this because if you don't know it and you picture it in your head, it's like D&D.
Yeah, this is total
madness.
So
it
this
is
week,
madness.
This week we're talking about the Sky Spitter.
And that should,
I love it.
That should put some thoughts in people's minds.
Yeah, Sky Spitter. So we'll start off with this little description here. On a sunny morning in 1975, a science teacher was attacked by a bizarre being that was hovering above his Long Island home. This aggressive and nebulous creature shocked this young father and almost certainly changed the way he would look at the sky for the remainder of his life.
That is underplaying.
That needs some music behind it, right?
It really
there.
does.
It really does.
I need a little dun dun dun.
Sky Spitter. Take it away.
Boom.
Robert.
All right. Most of us would agree that of all the horrifying things known and unknown we might bump into on this tiny blue orb we call home, the least threatening of these would be a small fluffy cloud. I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, or they're the most dangerous.
Bearing that in mind, one can only assume that when Garden City Junior High School science teacher Tom Dercole woke up that morning in the summer of 1975, the last thing he probably expected to encounter would be a malevolent, or at the very least mischievous, floating cloud-like critter.
Cloud-like is what's throwing me off.
Okay.
So, is this thing solid?
There are all manner of alleged atmospheric beasts, but this is described
It looks as a cloud.
as a cloud,
like with a fucking face.
like a dark cloud.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'll read a little.
Sorry, continue.
I'll read a little further here. Dercole had just stepped out of his Oyster Bay home and was about to climb into his car when he spied something unusual suspended just above his house. It was what appeared to be a very small dark cloud floating far below the scattered cumulocirrus clouds that was specified. You're welcome. Drifting at a much higher altitude.
Yeah.
Naturally, as a man of science, Dercole was intrigued by the vaporous object that seemed to be defying meteorological laws by traveling against the prevailing wind. He stared in wonder as the cloud seemed to move and slightly enlarged while he watched it. Dercole would later describe how this enigmatic cloud-like thing changed shape using the kind of acumen one would expect of a science teacher. And this is a quote directly from Dercole. This basketball-sized cloud floated back and forth across the peak of the roof, changing in shape from a small globular mass to a larger ovoid and finally becoming an abstract, multi-curved, dark, vaporous something. It finally measured about 6 feet in height and 1.5 feet in width.
Okay.
All right, so that's interesting. Because if you stare at a cloud long enough, even on a very windy day, you will see it. You will see it change shape.
Well, yeah, that's the deal. They change.
But
Yeah.
to change that dramatically in that short a time, to be that small and directly
From a
above
basketball
your roof,
to 6 feet,
expanding to about 6 feet long and 1.5 feet wide, that's effing weird. It gets weirder.
That's
no,
bizarre.
it gets weirder.
Okay.
Already perplexed by this undulating anomaly, Dercole was traumatized by what happened next. According to the mystified educator, the sentient cloud-like creature seemed to open its wispy maw and inhale.
Yeah.
Ooh,
All right, so that's some
weird.
shit.
Yeah.
Weird enough, but then you see...
Oh, yeah.
So
just like in a weird fairy tale or something.
Yeah. The cloud
Yeah,
looks
no,
at you
some
and
weird
takes a deep breath. Not good. Not good at all.
As if this weren't strange enough, the thing then pursed what Dercole described as lips and spit a deluge of water down upon the teacher and his vehicle. So it's not a rain.
No,
it is a mouth in a cloud.
It's
sucked it,
and then spewing from its dark guts liquid onto the teacher in the car.
Yeah.
okay.
I'm just saying dark guts because it's a dark cloud.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And, all right. I have questions. But
What happens next makes me very, very proud of this teacher. The now drenched Dercole could only watch in bewilderment as the cloud creature simply dissolved before his eyes. Wasting no time, he ran into his house, bagged the wet shirt, which which contained the only tangible evidence of his fantastic encounter, and changed into dry clothes.
Smart move.
Whatever plans Derek Coley may have had for that sun-drenched day were postponed as he made a beeline for his Garden City Junior High lab.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Science wins the day.
Science wins. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've ever
right.
heard of a paranormal encounter where it's a proper man of science, and B, they're going to try to figure it out. Once there, the teacher ran a pH test on the silk shirt and found, both to his relief as well as his consternation, that the substance that he and his car had been exposed to was nothing more toxic or exotic than standard everyday H2O.
Yeah, water.
But gosh darn it, at least he made the tests. And at least he had the sagacity to, put his shirt in a plastic bag.
Yeah, the wherewithal.
Keep the evidence. Exactly. Thank you. I'm proud of him for that.
Yeah, well, because shit.
While there are more than a few cases of atmospheric monsters, sightings of cloud-like apparitions are fairly rare, likely due to the almost perfect camouflage Mother Nature has provided them with. And even fewer of them include interactions with human beings. As absurd as this account may seem, one must assume that whatever it was that Derek Coley saw, his testimony ought to be believed, not only because of his academic background, and we've talked about this in former pods,
right.
but also due to the fact that this teacher would have very little to gain and much to lose by coming forward with a story as bizarre as this. So
It's true.
this is mind-boggling to me.
It's just the weirdest shit ever.
Here's why I buy this. Besides the fact that I was personally contacted by one of his students, who of course is an adult now, who remembered Mr. Derek Coley excitedly coming into, I assume, what was summer school class and telling his kids about his experience. Like, he wasn't looking at it like something to be ashamed of or something to hide. He was
Right.
just, he loves science. So he's
crazy
looking like,
event.
this happened.
Yeah.
So the student reported this?
No. Well, I don't know. He reported it, I think,
Okay,
to
all right.
whatever, body that might have been looking into this, or perhaps local press. But it was one of his students that all these years later, about 2 years ago, contacted me through Cryptopia.
And that's through cryptopia.us?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Our website that covers all sorts of cryptozoological phenomenon, including truly bizarre things like this that may not even have biology as we recognize it in any
where
way,
do you
shape, or
even
form.
begin with this?
Because here's where you begin. Is this thing, first off, is it sentient?
I don't
mean,
know.
it
I
seemed
don't-
to have a mouth.
Right.
It
Lips.
inhaled,
Yeah.
and it seemed to spit directly at him.
At him.
as if
Just
sort of
shit.
being kind of a mischievous dick.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
fuck you, dude.
I wonder if Mr. Derek Coley is still alive.
That's a good question.
Because it'd be interesting to get a hold of him to be like, hey, man, what is the deal with this?
I
Like,
would love to pick his brain
Yeah,
and get
totally.
even more specifics, even though I don't know how many more details could be, squozen out of this story.
Or
but
even just like, what is the after effect of this to your life? Where this happens and you're like, what in the actual fuck did that thing
Dude,
do?
I don't know, man.
I mean, do you go outside again? Well, obviously you do because you went back to school. But I mean,
I'm not even
if
sure
a
he was
cloud
afraid.
spits on me,
Oh, that fucks you up.
gonna be like,
if you're just
that's
watching this low, small thing, and then it just gets long and big, and all of a sudden there's a big mouth opens, and it's just you.
Yeah.
And it just
And you're like,
vomits a
why?
gush.
Yeah, like, I
And
don't
it's just
like when-
bleh.
yeah, like I don't like when birds land near me. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to deal with this. I couldn't imagine a cloud. Something that you technically can't even really see coming. You're just hanging out, and all of a sudden, there it is. Inhale, spit, drenches you, and then fucking goes away.
Well, he noticed it before it
Yeah.
was a
That's
threat,
true,
a
yeah, he
viable,
did.
not really threat.
Okay.
This is something any of us could do. We walk out of our house, we're like, why is this cloud 4 feet above our roof when all the other clouds are, miles up or whatever? And you're looking at it, and why is it changing? Is this some weird thing? Is this a atmospheric phenomenon that I've just never heard of? And then it seems to open a mouth with
And
lips and inhales.
spit, yeah.
I know we're being redundant here, and you're like, the F
Well,
it
that's-
did.
that's-
And you want to call your friends?
The weird part.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just like a.
If it just
If you
spurt
just
water
saw a
on
weird
'em.
cloud, yeah. If you saw a weird cloud, they do. I mean, you can watch a cloud for 10 seconds. They change shape,
Right.
and then it's just like rain, like it's just a small cloud with its own little rain pocket.
Yeah, we've walked in and out.
You,
of
yeah,
rain.
you might be like okay, but
Yeah.
like the appearance of what looked like a mouth was weird.
Yes.
and lips, yeah.
But then again, that it got 6 feet long and 1 foot wide, so it turned into
And it
this
had like
weird.
multi-angle, like it starts
So
off
it's like-
basketball sized. So here's
Right.
another thing too,
That's
not to
weird.
digress too much. Nothing really biological can start off one size and become another size. Now there can be worm-like things that look small and can be compacted and stretched. That's possible.
Right.
But something that seems to have a certain amount of mass And then that mass greatly expands from basketball size to 6 by 1.5 feet, or whatever he said.
Unless it was made up of actual cloud, then
So
maybe
this is 6 feet wide or 6 feet long?
6 feet long and 1
6
foot
feet
wide.
Long, 1 foot
right?
wide. Okay.
Well, I don't know.
It's
I
like
don't
a
know if it was
serpentine.
No, I think I just assumed.
So is it like a serpentine looking thing? Like it would have to be if it's
Regardless, 6 feet by 1 feet. It doesn't matter if it's up and down or horizontal, vertical. It's still.
All he says is that it finally measured about 6 feet in height and about 1.5 feet in width.
Oh, wow.
So does that mean that it was going vertically up and down?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's just that's semantics.
But it became an abstract, multi-curved, dark, vaporous something.
Multi-curved.
So small and
What does that mean?
globular to abstract, multi-curved, vaporous something.
So what type of gaseous sky beings? Anything? You're the resident zoologist.
gaseous sky
looking
beings.
at you.
There are absolutely things that they call atmospheric monsters. There was a famed ufologist whose name, of course, is going to escape me right now, who claimed that there were amoeba-like creatures that lived in the sky, and not only lived in the sky. We'll definitely do one on them, but would come down and eat people intermittently, especially if they were alone.
Oh no, that's amazing.
And,
that's terrifying.
And that that's how
that's
they
my
fed.
favorite. That's my favorite thing.
Those things look like protozoan. Yeah, that sucks. That
Okay.
sucks. That idea sucks. And
I don't want
I read that as a kid. It's terrified me. Nobody needs
coming
that.
at me
with its little flagellum whipping down at you. It's like Dagora the space monster, but for reals.
Yeah, I don't want amoebas.
For reals.
I don't want that shit.
But in terms of cloud monsters, there have been reports of weird cloud-like things that have come to the ground and that have seemed to eat people, or at least people disappeared in these things, that smelled weird, that made sounds.
Smelled weird.
But nothing of something that
Like
appeared
what?
to have, or at least manifest, human-like features, recognizable features like a mouth and lips, and nothing that seems to have directly, and this is what blows my mind more than anything, like if it just spewed water on the house, you'd be like, oh, this could still be some
Maybe
really
some
weird
weird
atmospheric anomaly.
Like some cloud edge.
But it seems like it's there, it's changing shape, it's weird, it can fly against the wind, which is something clouds simply cannot effing do, period. End of sentence.
Well,
they can't do it. They're not. They just.
There's a different thing. I've seen you've seen clouds moving different directions.
Yeah, but it's different wind patterns that they're in.
Well,
heavier clouds will certainly move slower, but something that low can seem to move against. I assume he had maybe he had a weather vane. I don't know how he knew what the prevailing wind was, but it was so low to the house that presumably he knew which way it was blowing and it was going against it.
Well, yeah.
So I'm giving Derek Coley the benefit of the doubt here.
Okay.
But that would be mind-boggling enough. The fact that it inhales from the outer atmosphere, uses it doesn't need lungs. It can't have lungs. Does it have lungs?
I don't know.
Are they cloud lungs? I don't know.
They are.
And then spits directly at this dude. The F is going on?
Yeah, weird.
That's what I mean. I picture not like you picture like a spout.
Yeah. That's how I picture it.
Because that's the way they kind of describe it.
I don't picture it like a rain. I picture like a
just like
it's vomiting water on this guy in his car.
Why? So
have there been any similar reports or anything close
nothing
to
like it that I've ever seen.
Just a one-time thing?
It's really weird.
Okay, so what could this possibly be? Before we go fantastical,
dude, how can you not go fantastic?
I'm trying to think. Is
Mark,
it a weird cloud formation? Doesn't make sense.
Well, okay.
There's no way not to be fantastical at this point.
Okay, well, I'm trying to start on the ground level of what.
You're trying to go Weather Channel first.
I'm trying to go Weather Channel. I'm trying to go Wayne Mahar. We're gonna Wayne Mahar this.
The only real thing you
Local
can do
meteorologist.
is it was a fucking tiny rain cloud.
Okay.
And for some reason, what he thought he saw a mouth.
Okay.
Spitting water only on him and whatever his stuff was.
All right.
Clouds have rain. That's weird. But it's weird that he has all these details.
What I would
The
ask...
details kind of throw me off a little bit.
The question I would ask Derek Coley, given the chance to interview him, which I...
Where's your
hopefully he's alive
drugs?
and can.
What do you want? And can I have them?
After I ask those
It
three
was the
questions...
70s. Hashish.
Things are different. I would ask him...
Hash.
And this is an important question, you junkies aside. How far...
Junkers.
No, but honestly, how far was the car and he from the house? Because if this object was floating at the peak of his house, if he was 3 feet away, that's less impressive than, say, 10, 15, 20 feet away.
Right.
If the car in the driveway and he were parked far enough away so that it was a spout that was directional and hit him from some distance, that would be fairly mind-boggling.
Yeah, but if he was like in the driveway, it was only like
if he was 5 or 6 feet away, it's less impressive.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know. That wasn't included in
All
the
right,
report.
so let's skip the Wayne Mahar meaning, the Wayne Mahar explanation here. Let's go to fantastical. What could this possibly be? Chris, before the pod, may have entertained Jinn.
Yeah, Jinns.
Jinns. Okay, so Chris,
if you're going to go,
They're
theological
mischievous
and or
and weird.
mystical,
It wasn't threatening. It was just an asshole. That's a
I mean,
Jinn.
at worst, it inconvenienced him.
So
That's- yeah.
a Jinn is a...
It's sort of like a non-human, sometimes known as demonic entity. It's definitely from Arabian folklore, Middle East. It's been incorporated into Islamic tradition. Sometimes they help and educate people. A lot of times they're not only mischievous but outright dangerous.
Okay.
You could say they're sort of counterpoints to angels, but it's not like they are, strictly speaking, straight demonic.
Okay.
But they're mythical figures
Yeah.
of some great power and a great deal of mischief that went down in ancient folklore and eventually integrated its way into Islamic tradition.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so possible Jinn.
Right. Or just a straight air elemental.
Elemental, that's something
Okay, so-
that goes right to Dungeons and Dragons and,
Yeah.
and weird shit.
Well, but isn't it also, though, like Native American legend and tradition with
Well,
elemental
there's
spirits,
a lot of.
right?
I'm not an expert on Native American traditions, but I know that there's a lot of Native American traditions, obviously Japanese and other cultures, where, like Shinto, that imbue what we would consider to be inanimate objects with a spiritual, sentient sort of existence. Like
Okay.
they can think, they can feel, they can act. It's an act of worship to worship a tree or a rock or something like that.
Yeah.
In that sense, maybe we do live in a world where sentience is not as limited as the Western world wants to think it is to carbon-based life forms and things that live in the sea and the air and the land. I mean, maybe other types of life. I mean, people, when they're looking for extraterrestrials, always talk about life as we know it. I've always thought, why the hell should it be like we know it?
Right.
Life could, who knows what it could form.
Yeah.
And what are the definition of life is nebulous, to say the least, but it seems to fit. You have to eat, you have to reproduce, you have to have waste products and a few other fundamentals. But who's to say that other things that aren't biological the way we recognize them can't be sentient and experience these
Well,
things?
I think that's why they say life as we know it. Just carbon-based.
Because you have to limit it to something.
Right, carbon-based us.
And it needs water, and it needs this, and it needs that.
Right. That's where the whole... that's where elementals come from. Like, why aren't these spirits of fire, wood, earth, water,
Just harder
air...
to, interact with.
I like that you said wood second, like fire, wood.
That's the Chinese coming out.
rock.
Gold. That's
So if this was an elemental,
wood.
I guess there's no point of reference for an elemental because we really can't bring Dungeons and Dragons into this, and we don't have enough information about the Native American spirituality side of it. Although that seems to be more paranormal. I think elemental.
I've never encountered. I mean, I have done research into different mythologies from different cultures, and I can't claim to be an expert in all or any specifically, but I can say I've never encountered in that research, and maybe one of our listeners has and will let us know, and I would love to learn this, cloud-like creatures. That doesn't seem to be a common thing.
No, but could it be?
No.
Could it be
No.
something else taking on the shape of the cloud?
Well, once you get into the idea of a shapeshifter, it's literally carte blanche.
Yeah.
no.
You know.
But it wouldn't be cloud. I mean, technically, that falls under the umbrella of air elementals.
Right.
Clouds.
Right.
That's
What blows my mind thinking about this is, assuming this is all bona fide and he saw what he saw and didn't misinterpret it, then how often are we surrounded by things that are alive that we don't even know? How often
man.
are living things floating overhead? When we're looking at clouds, are they looking back at us?
I hope not.
It's,
I don't know.
it's a weird, creepy thought, but I mean, if they're just doing their thing and we're just doing our thing.
Imagine every time you started a fire, you created some sort of life and you didn't know it.
Oh, dude, like a Big Bang on a micro scale. Ooh.
It's true.
You start a fire and they're like, "What? Why?
Fire
what is
does,
this thing?
Why am I
does
here?
Who are these?
qualify in a lot of ways as a life form. It eats, it reproduces, it lays waste. I mean, it's not technically a life form, but
No, but I see where you're going with it.
but
I
you know,
totally see it.
so it would be kind of crazy if somehow if somebody invents, like, I don't know, some super organic computer that somehow recognizes that there's this whole other pedigree of life that we have never acknowledged, and it becomes like a paradigm shift for humanity in the same way electricity was, or
like the carrots have feelings type of thing.
exactly.
Salad is screaming when you eat it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and
Good luck, vegans, because you're just mass murdering all kinds of green life.
Let's not go too far because I am researching sentient plants. So this is going to be a whole separate
no.
pod in the
Okay,
future.
all right.
So let's not spoil it yet.
All right,
but yeah,
plants.
the lawn screams when you mow it. It's better to be lazy and drink beer. I'm just saying that. It's a spoiler.
I'm going to try that this summer with my wife.
If
I'm
she
gonna be
loves
like,
things,
look, honey, I'm sorry, but
things
the
that
lawn's
live.
got feelings and it has pain. I don't want to be the one to bring the pain to the lawn.
yeah, are you gonna behead the entire lawn?
No, because I'm actually kind of like a stickler about my yard. I like to look really nice and
Oh,
sharp.
so yeah, whatever.
I'm a mass murderer.
Yeah,
Apparently.
you're cold.
So
You are
we
a
can't
stickler.
really
Mark the Impaler here.
nice. I don't. So extraterrestrial, I think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a tie in there. I don't know.
It doesn't.
What do you
Well,
think?
I mean, if you're from a cloud planet that's full of sentient clouds, and you're like, Earth's got clouds, let's say hi to our cloud brethren, and you
I
go
don't
there,
know. Is there
and
anything-
then, Earth
I
clouds
know,
don't
I
want to
know,
deal with
right.
you because they're racist, and
Are
you're
we-
like, I hate it. I'm going to spit on this guy and go home.
Is there
Why
anything-
did I come here?
Is there anything that we could tie this to besides an air elemental is there anything else we can tie this to besides an elemental?
This is almost without precedent.
Because
Okay.
just things just generally don't live in the sky.
Right.
And things generally aren't weightless or lighter
true.
than air,
That's true too.
but then can still fly against the
And
wind.
shape change.
Okay. Maybe we should turn this over to the audience and see what they think.
I would love
why this one
to get
dude?
feedback.
Like why it feels like a vendetta. Like what was he just looking for some dude?
Was Derek Coley getting too close to the
Yeah.
truth?
You're right. It does kind of feel like this has not been reported before, except for this one dude. So, like, what was the beef between the fucking cloud and the dude?
Yeah.
Like,
You're looking
what
at it from a
was-
new angle, a fresh perspective.
What's the beef?
Yeah. It could be anything.
Is this some sort of like street justice, but done in the sky?
Derek
Like,
Coley versus the Cloud Men.
I wonder what Derek Coley was on to. I mean, I was gonna try to start making cracking jokes about like chemtrails and whatnot, but like,
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Chris has it. I can see it in his eyes.
Here's a weird branch of weirdness. And
Okay,
it's
cool.
It is way out. I mean, it's like 30 miles past Shirley MacLaine branch.
Fair. All right, let's hear it. That's it. What do you got?
What if it was a spell? Somebody cast a fucking spell.
Native American
Just
could have.
Cast a spell. Some weird shit.
Okay.
Like wizard vengeance. Like I can't.
That's not really vengeance.
All right, wait. So
Okay,
but-
well, it could
what
be
if somebody just tried to cast some shit? And
like chaos magic, perhaps not out of the realm of possibility.
Or
or somebody
honestly,
just tried some weather bullshit
Just
and
a
just
neighbor-
created sentience for a second in
Just
a
a
cloud.
neighbor that was
and
a-
I was like, fuck you, humans. Boom. And then it dissipated because it didn't know its limits. It was like, I'm going to do some shit now. Then it's like, oh no, I blew all my energy. It
and
went
then
away.
fucking it's gone. Yeah. What
Spell.
if it is some sort of like spell, curse, manifestation?
did it die?
Did somebody
like
summon
when
it?
when a bee stings somebody, it doesn't usually kill that
Ladybug.
person, but they die
Yeah.
when they sting because their stinger
Ladybug.
gets ripped out. When a cloud thing spits at you, is that its last dying gasp?
Well, because it is, I mean, water. In
So
there. So
if this
it
thing was
gave
like-
all its shit.
Ostensibly,
If this was summoned or conjured from some type of neither
That's
region,
what I'm saying. It could have been.
I mean, what type of black magic or
Why does it have to be
occult are we
black?
dealing with?
like I say, I think
Or
it's,
that.
I think
I'm
it's
thinking conjuration magic is
It's
black
Ron from
magic.
next door pissed about how the hedges were trimmed or that he mowed too much of his lawn, and he got some like arcane book from an occult bookstore that were all over the place
Yeah.
in New York in the 70s, and they cast a little weather spell that said,
Cloud
"Fuck
revenge."
you, Tom.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Hey, no.
You're going to work. You're getting wet."
Exactly. Cloud annoyance,
Or,
level 2.
or because he's a science teacher, what if it was like what year was this? 70s, right?
It was
I think?
definitely
okay. So
early 70s.
metalheads weren't necessarily around yet, but what if it was just like some kids?
There were Deep Purple fans.
All right, yeah, true.
75.
Okay. What if it was some Sabbath, some kids listening to Sabbath, and they're like, "Oh fuck yeah, we're gonna fuck with Mr. DeCola.
Uriah Heep.
Yeah, we're gonna do some conjuration spells for some weather shit." I mean, again, I think we're all following Chris's lead here, and we're going way the fuck
I think you're going
off,
too far
but-
into sorcery land. I don't think.
But conjuration or summoning something is not necessarily out of the perspective realm of possibility.
It's not, but I still wouldn't accredit it with high school students. Because we
Classic story, dudes. Kids fuck with the devil. They get the
I
knife.
came of age in the 80s and loved
Get the fucking knife, dude.
and loved proper metal, and I read all my Necronomicons and all the things that were published that Walden Books had.
Yeah.
And I never came across Dispel at work.
Or maybe it was a rival science teacher who was like, I got to get rid of Big D. Big D's and
How is Chris not on NCIS?
I know.
Like, seriously.
I know, he's solving it.
He figures it out.
Or mutant.
Oh, a cloud mutant?
I always vote for mutant.
A mutant who can control.
Oh, you're going with like the X-Men, like Storm. Okay.
It is the great mystery of Oyster Bay.
It is.
And we'll probably never know. But if we can speak to, or if anyone out there knows Mr. Dercole, I would love.
Yeah, we would love to talk to him.
Love
Tell
to
him
get
to
some
get a hold
more
of us.
deets.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's fascinating, it's weird, it's unprecedented, and whether it be curse or sentient air thing or traditional elemental,
weird.
the fact is there is nothing like it really in the annals of paranormal that I've come across.
Yeah, anal.
In the anal paranormal.
Or the annals.
Yeah.
Deep lubed anal of the
There's
paranormal.
nothing in your butt.
It's not in the hiney of the paranormal.
It comes from, well, it is gaseous, so it could maybe.
All right. Now, on that note, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Okay, but we are going to put this out to our listeners. If you do have any information or any thoughts or ideas about what you think this could be, again, we don't really have enough information on an elemental, like on a Native American level.
Right.
Or any level, really.
Right.
I've always
Or
heard
have you
them,
seen something similar
you've
and you
seen
just were
something
afraid to
similar.
say shit because...
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I've
weird.
always heard of elementals kind of in the term of like a haunting or like to do like an elemental spirit causing like a poltergeist. Never really something like this where it's a cloud that spits in a dude.
It's true.
On Long Island. So, get a hold of us, email us, hit us up on social medias, let us know what you think about this, send us your thoughts and ideas. And as Chris mentioned too, if you've ever experienced something like this or if you've ever
weird.
experienced anything weird involved with this type of stuff, always feel free to hit us up.
Yeah, anything paranormal. If you've seen something you can't identify, be it cryptozoological,
we won't put you on blast without your consent.
Yeah, and if you want to remain anonymous.
Yeah, if you send us something, we're not going to be like, oh, hey, this person on Twitter told me via a DM that they saw blah. So feel free to communicate with us. Let us know what you think. Send us your thoughts and ideas on this. Again, we will only talk about it on the podcast if you give us permission to do so. So there you have it, Sky Spitter.
Yep,
interesting. Definitely something a little bit different in the skies of Long Island.
I love it. It's weird.
Yeah, I do too.
So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on iTunes. We're going to be mentioning this pretty much for the next couple of shows, almost indefinitely, because the way the iTunes and the Apple Podcast app work, the more subscribers and the more reviews we get, the more that we get featured on iTunes, which just brings us more listeners. So
featured.
Be sure to do that. Be sure to hit us up on social medias. We're available on Twitter, Facebook,
Instagram,
and our website, CryptonautPodcast.com, which will link you to all of those destinations. And thank you for listening, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Look out for those clouds.
Beware the sky. Watch the skies.
Face the devil. Watch the knife.
I don't even... That's out
watch
of context,
the knife.
Sir. But do watch out for knives. They're sharp.
Yeah,
that's good advice.
Danger.
Spell.